I hope you all enjoyed that as much as we did. It's fun to see our fans of the RESO volunteers when we get a chance. So now we're going to bring on Rebecca Jensen. Rebecca is the chair of RESO. She's also CEO of MRED in Chicago and chair of MLS Grid. Thanks for being here, Rebecca.
My pleasure. It's an honor to serve as chair for this year. Thank you, Sam.
It's great to have a chance to talk when we can. So when we're talking about RESO, we focus on technology. We focus on efficiency. And we're seeing really rapid changes right now in the marketplace with the way technology affects our businesses, the way it affects where we choose to live, and really those decisions on how we value our businesses, our homes, and our lifestyles. What are you seeing in your business with all of these technology changes that we're seeing right now?
Well, I mean, certainly it's the merger of all of the above. Our homes are becoming our businesses. And, for a lot of us, we're spending more and more time at business just because the pandemic and the shift from, in person to a virtual environment has forced us, many of us, to work longer and longer hours. And so it's really been a challenge, I think is a fair way to put it. But also it's something that I think will have long lasting effects for real estate and just business in general. And so it has been very exciting to see the importance of standards come to bear, especially this year where, technology has needed to shift on a dime to make sure that people can continue to work and continue to, transact real estate across the entire world. So, kudos to you and your team, Sam, for, really bringing all of this to bear.
Well, thanks to you and your leadership with the board of directors. It's really looking at expanding RESO from where it has been over the years to a much broader organization. And in that way, we've been spending a lot of time with new members, bringing new companies into the organization that are not just necessarily residential sale MLS focused. We've got commercial real estate organizations, appraisal and assessment related, and that area of rentals, where we've always sort of had a gap in the MLS implementation. Can you talk a little bit about what those standards mean and that membership means for an organization like MRED and RESO in general?
Well, sure. Real estate isn't just for sale residential property. And definitely we have seen the shift in those for sale properties becoming rental properties, and the real estate practitioners across, again, not just the United States, but globally, needing to make sure that they are serving consumers in housing, in not just home ownership, but rental is becoming more and more important segment of the real estate market. And so it was very heartening for me to see, not just vendors entering this space in major markets, but also the RESO standard embracing rental properties. And I know that commercial is undergoing a huge shift as well, as people look at not only reevaluating their office leases, but also seeing the opportunities in how those commercial properties can maybe shift. And so it just goes to show that, if we plan we all know that change is the constant, right? And so if we can plan to adapt and modify the real estate business practices for all of the different segments of real estate, that preparation has definitely borne a lot of fruit this year and will continue to do so.
And I think that's really it in this environment, is adapting to what's coming at us at a faster rate than ever. And we're seeing some of those things come through RESO, actually. We're taking in those pain points from our membership, whether they're brokers, MLSs, technology companies, and finding solutions for them. We have business and technical solutions starting to come into shape in really just the past year, in the time that we've spent from our pain points, our broker advisory group. You've got things like the Working with Real Estate data course, which folks have talked about how that can really help not just build education, but certainty for people working with technology providers and data partners. You've got things like the Now policy, which came directly from the request of RESO members looking for easier access to data, which is now with CMLS to look for implementation. So what else do you see in terms of value or where these new initiatives go in terms of providing that value to RESO membership?
Well, Well, I mean, the now policy, I think, is very aptly named because it's no secret that these standards have been in development for many years. And so there really is no longer an excuse for anyone in our industry to say that they weren't prepared. So the time really is now to work towards getting everything adopted in every single market. There just are no more excuses. And so it has been great to see MLS after MLS, shelve RETs and say, hey, this is no longer an acceptable way to handle real estate data. And it's also been very great to see all of the software vendors and the brokerages and their staff come into our space and say, hey, we appreciate the API. It's something that makes great business sense for us to be able to hire from anywhere within the world to create these efficiencies and be able to pivot and be able to give consumers the technology that they're expecting. And so, again, standards have been in the works for a long time, but now really is the time to say, hey, we're all going to adhere to the right way to do things, which is through RESO.
And on that path, certification is an important part of what we do. It might not be the most exciting for everyone involved, but what we've really been doing the past couple of years is bringing more transparency to that process, rebuilding the entire certification stack, as well as the processes to get there. We want to bring those pain points out for members so they can work with our software tools, so they can do testing themselves, and really help them understand what those rules look like in certification and standards. So we get that transparency and what we always talk about at RESO, which is that interoperability between systems.
Yeah, it sure is. And, when we first came out with our standards, we said, hey, we just want people to dip their toe in and get used to them and, learn the lingo and know that they are going to, over time, be expected to, come up to a certain level. And again, that's been years in the making, but it is so awesome that now this year, whole year is 2020, is remarkable in so many different ways. But this is also another way that it's like, no, now's the time to get everybody up to a platinum certification level. Again, no more excuses. We've run out. The runway is done. It's time to lift off and, take it for a flight.
And that's really the theme of where we are right now as an organization, is we've done the work, we've done the baby steps, we've been through the bronze and silver and golds and platinums, and it's time for everybody to be on the same standard, for everyone's systems to be able to talk to each other. And it's an exciting time for us. This is something that 20 years of volunteers have been working toward, and those tools are now being released, and those standards are really fulfilling what you and many others have worked on for so long to get RESO to one standard. So that's really something to celebrate with our organization, with our members. What do you think, as leading this organization going forward, your members should be thinking about? What should they be thinking about in terms of technology, and what should they think about RESO as an organization?
Well, I mean, RESO, I don't think any longer is trying to catch everyone up. I mean, I think that work it's been a long, arduous task, but I think it's done. So now the exciting part is to really be able to throttle it forward and, reach new heights as far as what we can do with it. And so if this year has many, many lessons in it, right? But one of them is the ability to adapt. And it's not just adapt your technology, but also adapt your practices. And some markets handled the pandemic differently than others. And the nice thing with the structure that RESO has set up and all of our other supporting organizations, whether that's the National Association of Realtors or CMLS or, a lot of other MLSs out there, we're all coming together to be able to give the market what it needs. And so obviously virtual is one thing that everybody's had to figure out one way or another. But I'm also seeing around the country, people talk about the different fields that might need to be included in a standard. And so, obviously one of the great accomplishments of RESO is the data dictionary and the way to describe property data. We have built such a tremendous community of, MLSs and vendors, and we're definitely seeing field level recommendations that we need to change, whether that is something like, master bedroom and master bathroom, or open houses, or different virtual fields. I mean, those are just some of the changes that have come our way over the past few months, honestly. And I have been so proud of RESO and your work again and your team in being able to take in all of that information and quickly make decisions where, that wasn't always the case in years past, when we were just trying to focus on bringing everybody up to speed on, what is a data dictionary and what are the minimum fields, bedrooms and bathrooms, is what we used to focus on. But now it's actually forward looking. And so, that's one of the nice things about a RESO conference, is that we can use that as an opportunity to really look forward and see where we need to be taking this standard. And so I'm really excited about all of that.
Well, and we stand on the shoulders of giants, right? These were the folks who really did the legwork when this was a very small committee organization, really striving to become an independent organization. And we have gotten to that point where now we can say RESO should be the default. It's no longer an additional thing that you do, but it's all of the fields. It's moving everything to Web API. It's really taking those steps that you and so many of others have gotten us to at this point. And it's exciting. It's a fun time for us at RESO. So any parting thoughts that you would leave with the membership?
Membership is the key word, right? I mean, it's the members' standard. And so the RESO community has always been so welcoming of new ideas, and we're not afraid to get our hands dirty and really look into the weeds of things. But having said that, we also have wonderful business tracks to where we can, take really broad concepts and then reduce them into working technology. And so, it really has something for everyone, which is also why, the RESO membership has really grown over the past few years to become really a global standard. So I would just say, take the opportunity to voice whatever it is that you think should be addressed by the community, because there really is a spot for all of that feedback to land. And so, that's one of the beautiful things about RESO, is that really is a community that we can foster ideas.
Well, perfect advice. Thank you once again for your leadership, to our board of directors as well that you lead. And we're looking forward to spending some time with you this week at the conference.
Absolutely. Thank you.